Welcome to another episode of Nas Stay Tuned, where we preview all the new movies and television coming out so that you don't have to do the research. I'm your host, Daniel de Sangre.
I'm not your host, Jose Ramos.
So this is going to be for the month of June 2023. And this one has a lot of projects coming out. I know when we previewed some for last time, we had about 7 projects. This one's got a little more, and we got some heavy hitters coming this month. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, no, it was weird because we started this for last month and we were like, oh, the month before had a lot of projects, but this one there isn't that many. And then June just bombarding us, especially on the movie end. There's a lot on the movie end. The TV show end, that's still a short list, but the movie end's definitely all different genres too. We're covering a little bit
hmm
of everything.
Yeah. And the fun part is that we're hitting the summer. This is the summer slate, man. This is when we start with you. These are going to be all your big blockbusters. It's going to be your studio tent movies, your franchises. We're getting it.
Yeah, I think we got after this probably maybe 2 months, maybe 2.5 months of probably uh going big on the movie section of these. Then it's probably going to start to slow down
hmm
the stay tuned movie portion. Probably
hmm
get more on the TV show portion as we start getting into the fall and some new shows start coming out.
And usually around December is we'll get some last minute potential Oscar contenders. So we'll start seeing that in the movies as well. But let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. Since we have so many movies, let's just start off with the movies. Right off the bat, on June 2nd, we have The Boogeyman. Now, The Boogeyman, it's directed by Rob Savage, and he actually released a movie called The Host around the pandemic, which I feel is a very underrated horror movie. It was really good. I recommend anyone to watch it. So that already gives me a little optimism regarding this project because he did so well with that. It stars Chris Messina, who we just saw on Air, Sophie Thatcher, who's recently been seen on Yellow Jackets, and Vivian Lyra Blair, who's the kid who we've seen in Bird Box, and she was little Leia in Kenobi.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So the whole premise of the premise of this basically we have a family. The father's a therapist who's dealing with the recent death of their mother. And then they end up getting tormented by an evil entity that gets left at their house by one of his patients. That's the general concept of it. So have you seen the trailer and what are your
Yep.
initial thoughts on this?
I did, and it sounds like another horror movie that coming out that sounds pretty generic. It's got some cool visuals. You see some jump scares. I'm not a huge fan of jump scares. I think it's always like a cop out move that they use in horror movies. The fact that they're already introducing it in the trailer makes me a little like at a little bit of pause. I will stream it just because I'm a fan of horror. It doesn't look off-putting, like it doesn't look bad where I don't want to watch it. It's just one that I won't watch in theaters. I just don't know if there's enough interesting concept enough for me to pull and say, okay, I need to watch this in theaters, but I'll give it a shot on streaming, and by then I'll kind of see what the general consensus is of how people are reviewing the movie. Not that ever dictates how I feel about a movie, but it kind of tells me like if it gets a lot of strong word of mouth, then sometimes I consider going to watch a movie in the theaters. How about you?
Yeah. So I watched the trailer. I'm going to be honest. My first impression of the trailer is it looks like I've seen this movie a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
before. So nothing screamed out as a new concept or original, which is fine. That's going to happen in horror movies. You're going to get a lot of recycled tropes, recycled concept. It's where horror comes down to execution, so it might still be able to pull that off. The one thing that I was like a little about is like, it seems like we're gonna get a CGI villain entity, and with movies like La Llorona, that can go horribly wrong where you end up laughing at the movie when you're not supposed to because the CGI is just off-putting. It doesn't really look scary. Not enough practical effects are used when it comes to these horror movie villains these days. It's one I don't, because it is horror, I wouldn't mind seeing it in the theater, but I don't have a sense of urgency. If I end up having time and time to kill, I'll go check it out in the theater. If not, I'll wait for streaming.
That's fair. And especially when you see the creature crawling on the ceiling, which is something we've seen in Hereditary, we've seen it done a bunch of times already. like you said, it feels so CGI. So I don't know. I'm hoping they give us something original, but the trailer didn't show that yet.
Yeah, I hope so. Another reason why I might not have time to watch this in the theater, because also on the same weekend, we have the next movie, Across the Spiderverse, coming out
Yeah.
on June 2nd. And that's going to take priority. But
Yes.
it's you have multiple people behind it directing it. We have Joaquin Dos Santos, we have Justin K. Thompson, and Kent Powers. So it's a collaborative effect to put this movie together. It has a big cast, but some of the main names are Haley Steinfeld. We have, which I'm gonna butcher this name, Shamik Moore. Maybe I didn't
Sounds
butcher
right.
it.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Oscar Isaac, Jake Johnson returning back from the first one, and a lot more. There's just too many people to name on this one. And basically, the general concept in this appears to be Miles Morales ends up entering like the multiverse and meeting spider people from all around from different universes who are actually working together to keep the universe, all the universes safe. There's a disagreement on how to handle a new threat, which leads to Miles pretty much at odds and against other spider people because there's a clash of ideals on how to handle these situations. So that's a general concept. So what's your thoughts here on this movie?
The first one is amazing. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's could be arguably the best Spider-Man iteration we've seen in film. Like I just really think it's that amazing. The animation is just phenomenal in it, how they use different styles, especially for different dimensions. I'm super excited for this one. What I will talk about with this one specifically, I love how Miles Morales is standing up against the other Spider-Men. It shows the progress he's made from the first film. So he's obviously not afraid to speak up. It probably shows he's a lot more seasoned now. So I love that. The villain has to be that powerful then, because if you're going against that many Spider-Men, you have to be that big of a threat. So I like how it's being bigger because Kingpin was cool in the first one, but this guy's going to be a lot more powerful. So I'm super stoked for it. I'm absolutely going to watch it opening weekend, and I might even watch it opening night, Thursday.
Yeah. Same here. This is probably the movie I'm most excited about coming out in June. And as they say, I am 10 toes down on this movie, fully dug in. But I love the first one of my favorite superhero movies in general. Forget animated versus live action in general. It was a 10 out of 10 for me. So I will be there. And I hope it at least is on par with the original, which is going to be a hard thing to do because the first one was so good. It looks like it's keeping the charm, the action, the design, and the emotions of the first one. And like you kind of alluded to here, so in the first one, it was him learning to accept that he has these new powers and trying to fit in with Spider-Man because he wasn't ready yet. This one now he fits in with the Spider-Man, but is becoming his own unique Spider-Man and having his own ideals compared to the other ones. So it's the next step in growth. So I'm in. I'm sold.
Yes, let's do it. Let's unite.
All right, moving on. The weekend after that, we have something I didn't expect to see these days, and it's a comedy called Strays, which seems like a comedy that maybe would have came out like 10 years ago or during the
I say
times of like
90s.
yeah, during the times of like Wedding Crashers or
Mm.
old school, like those type of
Oh yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's directed by Josh Greenbaum. I haven't seen anything else that he's directed, but some of the big names on this, we have Will Ferrell, we have Jamie Foxx, Will Forte, Isla Fisher, Randall Park. And the general concept of this seems to be we have a dog who gets abandoned by a crappy owner, joins up with a group of stray dogs, and goes on an adventure basically to get revenge on an ex owner by biting off their dick. That's their whole plan.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the concept of this movie as we follow these stray dogs. What are your thoughts on this right off the bat?
Uh, I like Will. He's a funny actor, and the scenes that we saw the dog with him was hilarious. And when the dog says, "I want to go and bite his dick off," that made me laugh. The reason why I said the '90s because it's like Homeward Bound. Remember how they did movies like that with so many dogs that just like talked? We haven't seen anything like that in a while. The premise isn't interesting to me. Like I'm just not into like talking animals like that. Um, no, I probably won't watch it, but there were a few moments though that made me chuckle that I'll probably see what the general consensus is. If it's just like getting bashed and it's not, no, I probably won't watch it at all. If I see it streaming somewhere, I may give it a shot just to see if it's funny. Just because we're so deprived of comedy. Not necessarily that this movie is looks like it's so amazing. Um, yeah. How about you?
Yeah. Adult Homeward Bound is actually why I had listed on my notes when I saw
Yeah.
it. It looks funny. The trailer did have me laughing multiple times, like that scene, or when he's hooking up with the hydrant. He starts talking to him like what is it the line that they say to him? It was like, oh, make it say that it's your daddy or something like that. And he just
Yeah.
goes, so I feel like I'm gonna watch it just because we've had conversations on the situation with comedy these days. And this type of comedy, which is that like edgy comedy, we don't see much of it, if any, for many years. So I think out of that desperation of like trying to get some of that comedy back, I want to see it with
Yeah.
high hopes that maybe it'll deliver what we didn't get.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have much competition, uh, that weekend, I think, for movies.
Yeah.
So if I have the time, I'll check it out in the theater, but I will definitely be seeing it on streaming at minimum. It's not a maybe. I will watch this movie. Okay, also coming out that weekend, Transformers Rise of the Beast, coming out on June 9th. This is directed by Stephen Caple Jr. Uh, I think the last project that he did that I'm aware of was Creed 2. It's no Michael Bay directing it, but he is producing on it. It stars some of the big names on it is Anthony Ramos, the new Hispanic that you catch everywhere. Peter Cullen, Pete Davidson, Ron Perlman, Michelle Yao is in there. And basically the general concept is we have the Maximals joined the franchise, presenting pretty much new threats and new help in this war between the Autobots and the Decepticons for the destruction or the salvation of Earth. That's the general thing that I got out of it. What were your thoughts watching the trailer and seeing what it's about?
Yeah. I loved Beast Wars, the cartoon. I'm glad that the Maximals are joining it. I wish the Rise of the Beast was just its own, and I wish they weren't merging them with Megatron and Optimus Prime and all that. I wish we just saw their own movie, like a spinoff already. I'm assuming that's what they're eventually going to do. Is they're eventually going to have a spinoff of it? Maybe. I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm going to stream it. I don't think I'm going to watch it in theaters just because I haven't been catching the last few Transformers. They haven't really been amazing. I know, we've talked about it before. Bumblebee was the one that I really, really, really liked, and it was its own standalone movie. So I'll stream it. Hopefully it's really good, and hopefully it branches off and it finds some redeeming qualities.
Yeah, it's always a conflict with these because I loved Transformers
Hmm.
growing up overall. And like you said, I loved Beast Wars. It was one of my favorite Transformer shows during the time.
Hmm.
So it's got that stuff that's looking out for it. And it's not Michael Bay directing it. But, then again, the one who's directing it provided probably the weakest Creed out of the trilogy. But I actually enjoyed that Creed, though. But that's just the general consensus is it was the weakest Creed overall. I don't think I'm going to watch it in theater overall, but I will definitely check it out once it comes out on streaming. Um, I really liked Bumblebee, and this is a direct sequel to Bumblebee.
Hmm.
At least that's what they've stated. This is a direct sequel to Bumblebee. So that's a positive right there. And then just from the trailer, the battle sequences, it looks the cleanest I've seen in the Transformer
Hmm.
movie. Like I was able to tell everything that was going on during the battle, which is one of my major complaints with Transformers, especially early on. So I am cautiously optimistic, but not optimistic enough to check it out in the theater.
Yeah. Is Haley in this? Is Haley Steinfeld in this?
I don't think she is, unless at least they haven't announced her in it, unless it's a surprise, or they might mention her or something like that. But
See, she was so good in Bumblebee. The chemistry she had with Bumblebee, that's the magic behind it. So that's why if they tell us, well, this is a direct sequel, it's like, well, you can't have a sequel when you're missing your main character. So,
but also Bumblebee, that was kind of that took place in the past. That was pre-Transformers being on Earth. This is Bumblebee's first like really like appearance there. So this is like
mm,
years ago. So this now takes place more present time. So Haley is probably, I don't know, 15 years older, 20
got
years
it.
older. So they wouldn't
Okay,
be able to use her anyway. Maybe they'll have a mention of the character themselves, but there is a time frame difference if I recall correctly.
got it. Okay.
All right, perfect. Let's go for June 16th weekend. Let's go to TV show for this. And we have the Lazarus Project. This is going to be airing on TNT. It's created by Joe Barton. The only thing that I know from him that had, that people say is a good horror movie is a movie called The Ritual. Uh,
Mm.
it's going to star, and these names I am definitely going to butcher. We have Anjali Mohindra, and we have Papa Esiendu. I just pronounce these names very Hispanically, even though they're
Yeah.
not Hispanics. Um, we have those in this, and then it's a sci-fi show. It's going to have about 8 episodes. Overall, basic the general concept of it is we have a guy who comes to realize he has these unique powers and perception involving space and time. And then now he's caught between like staying loyal to an organization that's supposedly trying to save the world or rewriting the past in order to help a friend. So he's kind of caught in between there. What were your initial thoughts with this one?
So I love the Lazarus Project title. The title was really cool. It reminds me though of the Boogeyman trailer that I saw, meaning like I watched it. I've seen this done so many times. There was nothing original that I really got out of the Lazarus Project. I know it's on TNT. I don't watch a lot of programming on TNT. So I'm not gonna watch it. If it gets again, I'm always open if something gets a lot of talk where it starts getting a lot of love and certain things or certain people that I trust watch it and tell me to check it out. I'll check it out. I love time travel, but the guy waking up and it's a repeated days. I've seen this so many times. You know, Groundhog's Day did it. It's you know, do you go against the organization that you've been in? Like, well, that's John Wick. Like this thing's been done so many times. What's original about this one? I don't know. It's trying to fix the end of days, like, or the end of the world, like we saw End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like everything I've seen from this has been pulled from other resources. So for right now, it's a no for me. It's a no for me, dog.
Yeah. Hey, well, you never know. It might be like a potluck where you have all these things pulled from different stuff, but it ends up making a great meal.
A
Never
charcuterie
know.
board. It's a charcuterie board. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, I'm probably gonna check this out. I'm gonna give it the end up giving it the 3 episode hit it or quit it like time frame on this. Because it is a sci-fi show, and I'm always looking to have a good sci-fi show in my repertoire.
Mhm.
Last month it was like Silo, this in it, and then Class of '09 ended up having some sci-fi elements to it. So on that alone, I'm gonna give it a try. But I do recognize that good sci-fi shows can be difficult to nail down, and then time travel shows or movies can also be difficult to do right. So it has a lot against it right from the start. Uh, so there's a high chance that this show can bomb and be a failure, but it's two concepts that I do enjoy, so I gotta at least give it a try. It looks interesting enough. We'll see. Hope for the best. Hopefully, it can join my sci-fi repertoire.
Let me know if you hit it or let me know if you quit it.
I will. All right. Going back to the movies on June 16th, we have Elemental. The director on this is going to be Peter Son. He's done other animated movies such as Ratatouille, Monster University, Lightyear. It stars it stars Leah Lewis, uh, Mamadou Ati. I don't even know
Yeah.
what that is. Yeah, I mean, we've seen him. He was in Jurassic Park Dominion.
Hmm.
He was also in this Netflix show that people were disappointed got canceled because it had potential called Archive 81. And that was a sci-fi show there. So he's been around, recognizable face. And it has Catherine O'Hara, from Home Alone fame.
Hmm.
Also Schitt's Creek, which is a extremely popular comedy.
Hmm.
And then generally the concept of this, it's a Pixar movie, by the way, uh, is in a world where the four types of elements they live together but don't really intermingle with each other for obvious reasons. With one of them, we have a fire woman and a water guy who end up finding a connection and just kind of going against social norms because they're not supposed to be together. So it's a concept that's been done before. It's a concept that's highly relatable for a lot of people. And then it's Pixar. What was your initial thoughts on this?
The fact that it's Pixar, I'm already in. I watch everything that Pixar releases. It's just very high quality content that they put out. They really take their time on things. There's so many Easter eggs. Their story in generals are probably some of the best storytelling that they have in film, I believe, like in terms of just consistency. Everything they put out. A24 is another pretty solid one that when you put out, you trust that it's good content. Pixar is just solid, man. The premise sounds interesting. It's always such an interesting world. It reminds me a little bit like Inside Out, meaning where you're using like you're taking elements and making them more personified, and you're playing a lot with kind of like the surrealism of things. I'm into it. I'm definitely gonna watch it, and it could be a good rom-com that we reference later. That's essentially what it
True.
is. Yeah.
True. The first thing that I want to point out of this movie is the marketing has been really shitty on this to the
Hmm.
point that it makes me question, like, does Disney want this to fail? Because there's a lot of people that I've talked to that don't even know this is coming out, and this is
Yeah.
coming out, in just like a couple of weeks, in a few weeks overall, and the marketing has been so bad for a company that's been so successful and put out such quality things. You would think you would want to market this at front.
Hmm.
And then you're also going to pit it against a big movie, which is the next one that we're going to talk about on top of that. So that's the first thing I want to throw out there is like, I don't know
Yeah.
what Disney's strategy is here with Pixar. With that being said, like it is Pixar. I feel like it's going to be just heartwarming. Pixar does that very well, is bringing humanity to their projects and just telling good, soul searching, warm feeling in your tum tum type stories.
Yeah.
So I will definitely watch it. It might be one because of the competition that I wait until it's on Disney Plus itself, unless I have some extra time. But I am watching this 100% for sure. We have on June 16th, The Flash. The I think in the second to last pre James Gunn project that's coming out. The director is Andres Muschietti. He's known for he did the It reboot. He did Mama, which was a really underrated horror movie. So he has some quality notches on his belt.
Mhm.
It starts Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton, Sasha Calle, Michael Shannon, Ben Affleck. There's a lot of people to name, but those would be like your main recognizable names that are in there. Basically, the concept of it plays a little off of Flashpoint, the storyline in the comics, also the animated movie, where Flash goes back in time to save his mother. It causes a ripple effect that alters the future and not for the better. So he has to try to set things right again. And that's the general concept of this one. What are your thoughts on this movie and everything that comes with it?
I'm definitely not gonna watch it. I think I'm gonna skip it. No, I'm totally kidding, man. You're giving me Michael Keaton and Batman. Like, yes, I'm gonna watch it regardless. It's getting a lot of positive reviews. Even Stephen King just tweeted about it, talk about how it was an amazing film and cinema. They have so many people doing that now. Is this DC? Is this James Gunn pulling in favors to help kind of set up the movie? I don't think so. There's something different about this movie that makes me think that they did it right. You know, the trailer that I see with Michael Keaton, and he's like, let's get nuts. And you see that even though I love seeing it, the nostalgia, it makes me a little nervous. Like, are they going to go back and just start retreating a lot of his old lines? Like, remember this? Remember this? I know you remember this one. Let's see this again. I hope they don't do that. Like, even the bat plane hitting the moon and kind of dropping, and you see him falling back. Like, I don't want them to feel like they're just regurgitating a bunch of things we saw from the first one. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. But I think it's a hell of a bang. I have a lot of low expectations for DC movies now. That as long as it's like serviceable, if it's like a 7.5, 8, that to me is a huge win for DC, and it's a jump towards the right direction. I know we've talked about it a bunch about James Gunn's hire. I think it's good and it's refreshing. They need a clear direction on where they're going, and James Gunn is always going to be opinionated and have an idea of where it needs to go. Now, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but at least they have consistency. They've been so dysfunctional on where things should go. That's been the issue with DC. Like Shazam 2, they had already mentioned it's dead before it even came out. Like that completely impacted the numbers.
Yeah, and
Flash,
Aquaman's going to be the same.
yeah, Aquaman's the same. So the Flash, I'm excited about it. Like I liked Ezra Miller as an actor before he started going all crazy on everything, because then I can always separate the artist from the personality, but it makes it extremely difficult when the personality is that toxic. It makes it really difficult sometimes. And I know he's been under wraps lately. I hope he's getting the therapy that he needs. But I'm excited for the Flash, man. It looks like it's going to be fun. And again, Michael Keaton. I love me some Michael Keaton.
Yeah. See, I've only watched the first trailer for this and I was good. I was sold on it. So I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to this. And if I only watch the first trailer for a movie, that's usually a good sign that you sold me on there. I don't need to watch any other content on it. Just give me the rest in the movie format itself. So I am cautiously optimistic for this. I really hope it's going to be really good. And yeah, it does, something about it does seem different. Now, I was like you, a fan of Ezra Miller as an actor before the DCEU, but I was not a fan of him as Flash. I wasn't a fan on how with the Flash they pretty much did this like this combination of two different Flashes into one. I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of it. So that was what was always throwing me off regarding this, but I'm willing to kind of look past it and at least give it a chance for this one. It kind of seems, like I said, Andres has some good movies under his belt, and it kind of seems like they looked at the executives at DC and they were like, hey, let him cook. Let him do his thing out there. And if they did that, Andres has shown a style that can be successful, and hopefully, because from the trailer, what I got is this seems like it's going to be emotionally and psychologically charged, and I love that in a movie overall. So it's not going to just be joke, 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 joke. We're going to get more to it and going to add more of that, deep like humanity aspect to the Flash beyond just being the comic relief.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it. I am going to be there probably day one, and we'll see what they do. I'm excited again to see Michael Keaton there, but I'm also excited to see Ben Affleck kind of be redeemed after the shit show that was Justice League, where it seemed like he was phoning it in when that movie came out. After he delivered, whether you agree with that Batman or not, Ben Affleck did kill it in a BVS as Batman himself. When in Justice League, it seemed like he phoned it in. So I want to give that character another chance to kind of go out there and show off. So
yeah,
I'm in, all in.
Yes, and I do like how they've been giving some of these characters or actors opportunities to sort of redeem themselves. Like they did that for that Spider-Man movie where they brought back Jamie Foxx as Electro, and and he crushed it. He did. In my opinion, he kind of redeemed himself as Electro a little bit in that movie. I like to see this, and it's giving Michael Keaton, man. Like he did Birdman. There's so many references to Batman in a certain way with the way he was playing Birdman. Let's see it, man. I think he's been clamoring to do this for a while now, and he's excited. I was so bummed when they just basically deleted the entire movie of Batgirl. Like we didn't really get to see that, right?
Yeah.
And see his character in it. So
Yeah, no, I am. I feel that this is gonna be a good step, even though James Gunn is not involved in this. But if this hits and this is quality, I think that'll go a long way with from restoring some faith in the DCU overall, which might lead to some people to maybe be a little more open-minded when it comes to what James Gunn has going forward, especially since from his words, he loves this Flash movie. So if he loves this Flash movies, it fits in most likely with a vision that he has.
yeah, and it's a perfect opportunity right now for DC to rebound because Marvel's starting to sputter a little bit. And that train is starting to go off its rails. So now's the opportunity to come in, bounce back, and a lot of the fanboys of Marvel that are already starting to get kind of perturbed and some already peeling off, you can get a lot of them going to support DC now. It's a good move. It's a good baton passing.
Might be a comeback. You know, it might be like one of those boxing movies where
Yep.
DC has been getting outboxed and destroyed for 8 rounds. But
Yeah.
maybe in the ninth round, they got the right speech from their
That's what I'm
corner and
saying,
they're
man.
ready to take some
Don't call it
haymakers.
a comeback. And then they're gonna come right. It was the plan the whole time.
But to be honest, honestly, I want both to be successful.
Yeah, me too.
I will be extremely happy if DCU and MCU are both on the top of their game because that's more content for me to enjoy. I don't get
Absolutely.
why people want one or the other to fail. Like, don't you want more good content?
Yeah.
But anyway, going over to TV shows. On June 18th, within that week, we have The Walking Dead: Dead City. This is created by Eli Jorn. It stars the two main characters are Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey D. Morgan. This is more horror based. I mean, most people know Walking Dead is going to be horror based. It's a 6 episode miniseries, so it's going to be a quick watch
Hmm.
overall. And basically, the concept of it follows two of the most popular characters from the main show, which is Maggie and Negan, as they're forced to go into a zombie filled, like post apocalyptic Manhattan, which in the main show, I know Dan, you didn't watch a lot of like the main show
Hmm.
or anything like that, but most of it took place in open area and country, things that weren't highly populated. You avoid big cities because it has such a high concentration of people that you're just asking for death with all the amount of zombies that are going to be in there. So now we're going to get that. So what are your thoughts as a non-viewer having checked out the trailer?
I was a no because of what you said, because I wasn't gonna, I didn't finish the OG show, so why would I get into a spin-off when I don't know the mythology and stuff behind it? You said it's only a 6 episode run though, it's a miniseries. That has my attention, and the more you're describing it about how it's set in Manhattan and it's like a death trap, I'm assuming it's gonna be highly gory, highly horrific. Now you have my interest. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I mean, it sounds interesting. I like Morgan, like I like the actors that are casted in it. So I'll give it a shot, man. I'll probably give it like an episode or two. Is it gonna be, it could be more of like a gruesome Last of Us? Because the complaints about The Last of Us by some fans is that it's not gruesome enough, we're not seeing the creatures enough, the characters aren't
Mhm.
necessarily more in peril, it's more character development. You and I personally have talked about this, saying we don't care. We love the character development of Last of Us. It doesn't bother us. This one might be that fix though. So if it's like highly energetic, in your face, nonstop, like horrific action, sure, sign me up. I'm in
I
it.
will say the trailer probably already showed more gruesomeness than we saw in all the Last of Us
That is
first
true.
season. Again, not a complaint. Love
Yeah.
Last of Us,
Yeah.
and I'm perfectly fine with how they did it
Hmm.
overall. I, on the opposite end of the spectrum, made it through the entire main series, most of one spin-off and all of the other spin-off. So I'm kind of fully caught up on it. So I will be watching this, uh, even just out of obligation, but it does look interesting, and the concept, I feel it has the potential to give us something new because of the setting. It's kind of like with Scream 6, changed the settings, and that kind of freshened things up for me and got me curious and interested. This switch in the setting overall is doing that. And the fact that if it ends up not being good, it's 6 episodes. I didn't waste a lot of time. One
Bingo.
of one of the main complaints of Walking Dead when The Walking Dead went downhill in quality was everything was spaced out too much. They weren't efficient in their storytelling, where one thing that could have been done in half an episode will last 4 episodes. So I think when you tell a closed story for 6 episodes, I think those things that were the peril of the original main series won't affect this series. We're going to be more efficient and more action based. So that being said, I am excited for this. I will be checking it out. Then I would, if I were you, I would just go to YouTube and just kind of get a season recap of all those seasons so you can get an idea of what happened to Walking Dead, because it might help you enjoy this one even more if you know the context.
Perfect.
All right, we got two more quick ones here. We have one more TV show, Secret Invasion, coming out on June 21st on Disney Plus. By the way, The Walking Dead was an AMC. I did forget to mention that. But Secret Invasion at Disney Plus. This is created by Kyle Bradstreet, who's known for Mr. Robot, which was
Mm.
a good series, especially those early seasons. It stars some of the big names on it is Emilia Clarke, Samuel Jackson, Kobe Smulders, Ben Mendelsohn is going to be in it. It's sci-fi suspense thriller, and it's also going to be a shorter season, not quite 6 episodes, but it's going to be 8 episodes when it comes to this. The general concept that I got from it is, Nick Fury learns that shape-shifting scrolls have been secretly invading Earth, and he must connect with like allies to try to stop this invasion before it's too late. So very simple concept. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Very simple answer. Yes. Because with Secret Invasion, it's like espionage. It feels very Winter Soldier-ish to me, which is one of my favorite Marvel movies. Yes, man. And Emilia Clarke, like I love Emilia Clarke, man. Still back in, her Daenerys days, and you're getting her in Marvel now. Like, yes, I'm excited for this. And I love Samuel L. Jackson. It seems like they have a good grasp about what the show is. Like we said with Captain America Winter Soldier, what I love about it is because everybody had this idea that with Marvel it was like as big as the superpowers and these characters, but then Winter Soldier really broke it down. And even though Captain America has powers, it's not so powerful like a lot of the other characters, like a Thor, right? It felt more grounded, but then they were able to really tell a very, very good grounded story because of that. Secret Invasion, looks like that. It smells like that. It sounds like that. I'm hoping that that's how it is, and I have a lot of faith in Emilia Clarke. I haven't really seen her do a bad performance in anything, despite her maybe sometimes being in projects that maybe weren't the best. She's always done a really good job, and I got confidence in this, man. Sign me up. I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, I am down 100% on this. It feels kind of like we said, the Flash feels different. This feels different. It looks it's looking more serious, gritty and dark. I didn't see one joke in the trailer, and I was
Mm-mm.
extremely happy about that because of the
Mm-hmm.
concept of the story. Secret Invasion is one of it's a big Marvel story in the comics, kind of how Civil War was a big story arc within the comics. So there's a lot to pull from that was already successful overall. I'm going to be honest, first impression, I think it has the potential to rival WandaVision and Loki as the best Disney MCU series so
Mm-hmm.
far that we've had. And then I feel your comparison in feel to Winter Soldier was perfect, because I was the Sacre was going through my head. It gave me those vibes that I got from Winter Soldier, and that is also one of my favorite MCU movies. So if they can recreate that sense and that feel that we got from that movie, I think this show's already set up for success. At the end of the month, the last movie that we have left here, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, coming out on June 30th. This is directed by James Mangold. He's done some, some great ones like Logan, Girl Interrupted, underrated one like Identity. But he's also done the Wolverine. So we've been on two spectrums when it comes to James Mangold. It stars, of course, Ford, the legend. It has Mikkelsen, and it has Antonio Banderas. Those are some of like the big recognizable names that are going to be in it. And the general concept seems to be, Indy goes on an adventure with his goddaughter to find this dial that can change, uh, you know, pretty much change history in a way. And then this puts him up against a villain who was a previous Nazi and works for NASA. That seems to be the general concept that I got out of this. I know you are a huge Indiana Jones fan, so what are your thoughts?
So I love Indiana Jones 1 through 3. I read some of the Indiana Jones books and I played some of the computer games, like the video games that they had. And one of them that I always loved was Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. And that was one that was a rumored storyline for part 4, and they ended up going with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And the Dial of Destiny is a new original one, as far as I know. I don't think it was based off of a book or any, previous iterations, but like 4 I really didn't like. I really didn't like 4. They made so many mistakes. This one, I'm excited with the director. The Dial of Destiny, I know they're doing a lot of like de-aging stuff for this. I'm trying to be happy and optimistic, man, but like early reviews, Rotten Tomato, I think has it at 33%. Like the consensus that I'm hearing is that Harrison Ford is giving a good performance, but the rest of the movie is just blah. I really don't want to get 2 movies where it feels like that. And we already got that once. And like, I don't know, man. It feels like
You
Indiana
think your
Jones
heart
against
can
the
take
ropes.
it? Your heart can't
Yeah,
take it,
man.
Dan.
I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna watch it in theaters, man. Just because that's Harrison Ford's my boy, Indiana Jones my character. But it's just like you're sitting there watching, your icon, and they're at the end of their career. And it's like they should have retired 3 years ago. It feels like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I have no optimism for this movie at all.
No.
To be 100% honest, um, I personally feel they just need to leave Indiana Jones alone. They should have left it alone before they released Crystal Skull. It was such a good series as is. It should not have been touched again. And I just feel they're just going to keep beating down on already dead franchise. Uh, because of Harrison Ford, I'll see it when it goes to Disney Plus on streaming. But I be taking that weekend off from going to the movies. I will not be watching it in the movies. I hope
I'll
I'm
tell you how
wrong.
it is. I'll tell you
I
how it
hope
is.
I am wrong because I would love to have a great Indiana Jones movie for Harrison Ford, especially if it's his last one. But no, if it isn't, let it die. You've waited too long already. Stop talking about possibly continuing it after Harrison Ford. Because if you can't make it work with Harrison Ford, how are you going to make it work without Harrison Ford?
Yeah,
Be done.
seriously. Because now you're just using the name. You know what I mean? You're essentially just using the name now because it's not Harrison Ford and it's not even the character. No,
Yeah.
no.
So,
All
I
right.
mean, it sucks that we have to end it on the somber one that comes at the end of the month,
Yeah.
but it looks like June has the potential to give us some gems. And but there is a lot of like projects that you have to be cautiously optimistic with, which is like you hoping for the best. There's potential there, but there's also a high chance that it's going to be a dud, and that seems to describe June as a whole. What do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like the safest one out of all of these is going to be Spider-Man in this Across the Spiderverse. I feel like that's the safest one, but I think the Flash has huge opportunity to be one of the better ones potentially.
No, I agree. I feel the safest one is Flash. I mean, not Flash. Spider Verse for the movies, and then Secret Invasion for the TV shows.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. But that note, please follow us on YouTube and Not a Strong Start. Like, comment, share, subscribe, add their noties. We're going to continue to drop bonus content as well. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. I am your host, Daniel de Sangre. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I am not your host, Jose Ramos. You can find me at This Is Me Nombre on Instagram.
We'll continue to do our Stay Tuned episodes every month. So next month, you'll be able to see what the new releases are for July. So on that note, watch it with us and we'll stay tuned.